After ending things with McLaren, Ricciardo is looking at his potential options for the 2023 season. Although the initial buzz was that he could land a seat easily, now that lots of young talents have opened up for other teams, it seems like Ricciardo does have one option left, and that is the reserve driver role in Mercedes. Now, according to an ex-F1 champion, this isn't a far-fetched scenario, and we could be very close to witnessing it. Many would perceive this as a humiliation. Maybe Ricciardo himself will say that it's not what he had planned for the 2023 season initially, but at the end of the day, it's something that is the most realistic possibility for him at the moment. He also opened up about his future, and Hamilton replied when it comes to his connectivity to Mercedes, and this video is talking about all these situations. So, don't go anywhere. Now, Ricciardo's infamous 2 years with McLaren are finally over, and although we thought that it was just a slump in his career and he can bounce back much faster than originally anticipated, it seems like this isn't the case with the 8-time race winner. His reputation has been severely hurt by McLaren's performance, and the 19 points he scored, along with being a constant backmarker in most of the races that the F1 caravan has visited, have taken its toll on Ricciardo's aspirations. The situation has developed all the way to Ricciardo saying that he's accepting all roles and his head is currently wrapped around the reserve driver role because, according to him, that is the only solution available. I've certainly accepted if I'm not going to be on the grid next year, I'm okay with that. I've accepted I'm not going to do everything, or my management team's not going to do everything just to put me on the grid if it's not right or it doesn't make sense. Obviously, this year's been challenging, and if I am on the grid, I want to know it's a place I can enjoy it and feel like I can thrive, an environment I feel I can thrive in. I don't want to just jump into a car for the sake of it. Now, Ricciardo also failed to finish the Monza GP, the race that he won in 2021, leading off Norris for a 1-2 dominant finish for the team. It was a frustrating weekend for the Aussie, who missed out on an opportunity to finish in the points and close the gap to Alpine in the Constructors' Championship, since both of the French constructors' cars were outside of the points. Days like this certainly are pretty frustrating, but give it 24-48 hours and I'll get over it and try to understand what's best for next year. Not in an overconfident or cocky way, but if it's not meant to be, then I'm totally okay with that. I won't be too proud. We haven't certainly given up on getting a seat, but that's kind of where my head's at the moment. Finished Ricciardo. But according to ex-F1 champion Damon Hill, there is a high possibility that we'll see Ricciardo accept the reserve driver role in Mercedes and then conquer the 2024 seat if it's left by Hamilton. It seems like there will be a gap between Hamilton's retirement and the coming of Kimi Antonelli, who is signed by Mercedes and is currently in the F4 Championship. Therefore, Ricciardo would be the perfect fit for this gap, as Hill said. I think there is some logic to that. If you're at least with a top team, even if you're in the wings and waiting for the right opportunity, you'll have information that is useful to another team perhaps, potentially. But every team manager will be looking at him, and every team will be looking at him and asking, where's the pace gone? Is it coming back? And that's the big question mark. We don't know. Finished Hill. Another F1 ex-champion also chimed in on the Ricciardo discussion, but from a different perspective. When the silly season took full swing, Ricciardo was very well connected to Alpine, as we were expecting that a comeback would happen. After all, why not? He did score a couple of podiums for them in 2020 as he finished 5th in the Drivers' Championship, so it wouldn't be a far-fetched goal given the fact that Renault waited for a podium finish for almost 10 years. When talking about this, Jacques Villeneuve said that Alpine shouldn't consider Ricciardo as Alonso's replacement, adding, "Why would he be? He had 2 terrible years at Renault and 2 even more terrible years at McLaren. That's 4 years. Almost half of his Formula 1 career was bad. Alpine has no reason to take him, especially when he's driven there before. The modern cars just don't seem to suit his driving style. He was impressive at Red Bull. He showed amazing overtaking maneuvers. He was ahead of Max at the beginning, but in the end Max started to get a handle on him. Then he switched, and after the switch something seems to have happened that he never managed to get a handle on. He never recovered from that." Apart from this, Villeneuve spoke about the most realistic opportunity that Ricciardo is currently considering, and that is sitting out the 2023 season and conquering a seat in 2024. However, he isn't a huge fan of this chance for Ricciardo, as he added, "It could make him lazy. You can take a year off if you're an Alonso, a Schumacher, if you've been world champion and won a lot of races, if you know in the paddock that you'll always be at your best no matter what season. After 4 bad years, don't do that. You take what you can get. If you have an offer to drive in Formula 1, then you take every cockpit. In public, you will say you don't want to drive for one of the back teams, but if that's the only contract you can get, then you'll sign it." Finished Jacques. As for Ricciardo, he did say that his future is in F1 and he wouldn't change that for anything else. When speaking about this matter, he said, "I wouldn't give up on F1. If it means I'm not on the grid next year, I'll certainly try to find a way to be on there in 2024. It's honestly the only racing I'm really interested in at the moment. My mindset is still, I'm an F1 driver. I'm proud of what I've done, but I still feel there's a bit more to show, to give. I wouldn't race another category next year," said Ricciardo. "The truth is I'm keeping every option open, not only for next year but for the future. I still don't know what next year looks like. As Lewis said earlier, I do want to be on the grid, I do want to race. Although it's certainly been a challenging time in my career, it hasn't taken the love of the sport away from me and that desire to still be here and still compete," finished Ricciardo. Now, on multiple occasions, he did say that he's ready to accept a project if that is what other teams are willing to offer him. However, he did say that he's more focused on the win now situation, and now that this is a mission impossible for him, it's very likely that Ricciardo will accept whatever is thrown at him just to stay in F1. If teams like Williams, Haas, Alfa Romeo and Alpine aren't willing to give him a seat for 2023, then he'll likely have to accept the reserve driver role in Mercedes and try to conquer a seat for 2024. But Hamilton is also one to be asked about this matter, and according to him, he doesn't have any plans of backing down from the sport anytime soon. When talking about Ricciardo and his future, Hamilton said, "I think he's far too talented and he's earned the right to be amongst us all racing. If he's part of our team, that'd be great, but a third role is not really what's best for him. If I was managing him, he'd be racing. For me, I feel healthier than I've ever felt. I'm feeling fit, I love what I'm doing, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. My goal is always to be with Mercedes. I signed with them in 1997. I love that we have the long partnership we have. I feel like we're embarking on a lot of really positive things, not only in the sport but outside, and I think there's a lot to accomplish together. I want to be a part of that," finished Hamilton. So, with that being said, what do you think is next for Ricciardo? Do you think that he has a high chance of performing in F1 anytime soon? Let us know in the comments below.